Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to your communication skills class again. Today we are going to back again with another exciting episode of communication skills, and we will talk about some other techniques which are beneficial and which are useful in making you good business administrators. So before we actually begin with today's lecture, let's quickly recap that what we have done in our previous lecture. As you can very well see on the slide on my back, in the last lecture we have thoroughly talked about the similarities and differences between the verbal and non-verbal communication. Now once we had been talking about the similarities and differences between the verbal and non-verbal communication, we thoroughly discussed that how both of them they are similar to each other, and then both of them how they are different to each other. As the modes of communication, both of them, the verbal communication and non-verbal communication, they involve the sender and receiver in themselves. So both of them they are common in a way that both of them they have one sender and one receiver. In a way that in verbal communication you have to have a sender and you have to have a receiver who are communicating with each other through words which are verbal, that can be written or that can be spoken. However, on the other hand, once we talk about the non-verbal communication, you have the sender and the receiver who are communicating with each other, yet the information being exchanged between these two people, this sender and this receiver, is exchanged through this common signs of these non-verbal cues and non-verbal behaviors. So your gestures, your physical movements, your eye contact are really very strong once you want to talk with your friends, with your family, with your colleagues. You want to say no, you just shake your head, and everybody and everyone with whom you are or you want to communicate automatically understand that you want to say no. So there are other functions and other categories that we have discussed about verbal and non-verbal communication, and then there were some differences that we thoroughly talked about once we had been talking about the similarities and differences between verbal and non-verbal communication. The second thing that we discussed in the previous lecture was the plain English approach. Now as I told you in the beginning also, that our main focus is going to be our productive skills, and our productive skills is going to be our speaking skills and our writing skills. That has something to do with your verbal communication or your verbal expression. So keeping that in mind, you are supposed to keep in mind this business approach of plain English. Now we thoroughly discussed about two categories. One is heavy English and the other one is plain English. We emphasized on the idea that if you are going to write in the plain English, which actually means that you are going to present your ideas in the simplest way to the audiences so that they can understand, and it can happen to develop the understanding of those people. Only in that very situation you would be able to actually enhance their understanding or make them understand your point of view. So for plain English approach, we have also discussed some of the techniques and guidelines that you can use to make your business English understandable by the common layman or the customers and clients who come to you every day. So we discussed that how you can make use of this plain English. We talked about that how you can address all 5 W's and 1 H. We thoroughly discussed them, that how you can address these 5 W's and 1 H. Then we also discussed that how the use of active voice can be of one very good idea once you are trying to write down in the plain English. And then we also discussed that how you can make your messages concise and concrete to provide the complete information to your audiences. The next thing that we have discussed in our previous lecture was the you approach. Now that was one very interesting thing that we have discussed in our previous lecture. Basically, you approach has something to do with talking to the audiences about their interests and about their benefits. So this you has something to do with involving them into and telling them that the thing that you are launching and the thing that you are talking about is really very interesting and is going to be beneficial for them. So this is what we have discussed in our previous lecture. Today's lecture is a continuation of again communication skills that would thoroughly talk about listening skill. So in our week 4 we would thoroughly talk about the listening skill. out of the 4 skills that we are going to discuss and we are going to thoroughly practice in this semester, listening skill is the first one that needs a lot of attention, because once as we have also discussed in the previous lectures as well, that once you are going to become one good listener, only then you can become one good communicator. So this is one thing that you are supposed to keep in mind while you actually want to become one good communicator, that you must know the art of listening well. Since this is one of the receptive skills, so the more sounds you are familiar with and the more sounds and the more vocabulary you would listen to, automatically you would be able to use that vocabulary into your written and your spoken expressions, which are your productive skills. So to begin with, let's quickly recap the 3 V's of communication that we have also discussed in our first lecture. Now these 3 V's of communication, or V cube, 3 V's, alright, 3 V's. 3 V's of communication. The first one is verbal, the second one is vocal, and third one is visual. Now verbal stands for the messages that we deliver through our voice. Now these are the words that we deliver to the audiences, or we can, in other words, can say that it can be spoken or it can be written. Vocal is the voice that we convey, that has something more to do with the paraverbal communication. Paraverbal communication basically emphasizes that how you are going to put your stress and intonation on different words, and how you are going to actually deliver your thoughts to the audiences. Like for example, we have also discussed this example in the previous lecture as well, like I didn't say he is. Alright, so here you go. Now there are ways of saying this thing in a very different way. Let's put our stress on different words differently, so that you can get to know that how paraverbal communication and the stress on different words can change the meaning of the whole sentence. Now the first way of saying, in the first sentence we would put our emphasis on I. I didn't say you were stupid. Now in the second sentence I would put my stress on say. Let's say it now. I didn't say he's stupid. Now in third sentence we would put our stress on stupid. I didn't say he is stupid. Now you see the tone, it varies from one sentence to the other depending on the stress or vocals that we are using to change the monotony or change the sentence structure, or that to make it understandable in a different ways to the audiences. The third thing is visual. The 3 V of communication is visual, that is our body language. Now our body language is kind of different. It's kind of we keep on changing our facial expressions, we keep on changing our hand movements or eye contact. So they are kind of very strong and spontaneous communication that can convey our thoughts and ideas faster than the verbal communication. So these are 3 V's of communication, which are going to be our main target while we are going to talk about all 4 skills of language, which are listening skill, speaking skill, reading skill, and writing skill. So first of all, before I move on to the other details of today's lecture, let me make this thing very clear to you that we would take care of first of all the receptive skills, the listening and reading, so that you have an idea that how to actually develop your receptive skills, how to receive the information, and then we will move on to the productive skills, that is speaking and writing, so that you can get to know that how you are actually going to produce your information via you want to speak, or you want to write down information or produce it to someone else. Now let's check out the communication frequency. Now if you can very well see on the slide, listening is basically the 32% of what we do every day. Reading is 19, speaking is 26, and writing is 23. So you see, listening is the rate of listening is the largest one, the percentage of listening is the highest one once you talk about the whole communication frequency in our lives. Now, there is a good reason God gave us 2 ears but only 1 mouth. But listening actively, by listening actively, we can better understand what is expected of us. So, having 2 ears which are functioning properly is one of really good gifts of God. So, we must be very thankful that we are not dumb and we can listen to other people and we are normal human beings. If we try to actually define listening, it means that that you can better understand that what is better expected of us. Like someone gives you the instruction, you listen to it and you understand that what is expected from you, what exactly you are supposed to do. Now you have been sent to this world for a reason and you have been told that reason again and again, and you are told this reason again and again 5 times a day, every day, so that you can get to know and listen to the voice that is coming to you, so that you can spend your lives accurately or accordingly. So this is how this is what is you call understanding on the broader scale. If you see it on the this specific scale, you see your mother giving you instructions every day, you see your father giving you instructions every day. So it varies from situation to situation, it varies from person to person. Now build rapport with our co-workers, family and friends. Now once you are going to listen to the things from your co-workers, from your friends, from your family and other people, you try to build your rapport amongst them. You want to listen to the encouragement that people have about you or people say about you. You want to listen to the good words that people say about you. So this is what you are, you want to listen to the appreciation and you want to build a good rapport. Sometimes you listen to a fight, you listen to these quarrels and people not mingling and not chatting with each other. So what do? You try to resolve the problems amongst these people. Then grasp underlining meanings. Sometimes your ears, they help you grasp the underlying meanings of the words also. Now if somebody is communicating non-verbally, that would be different, but once your ears are involved in it, you would be in a better position to grasp the ideas which are lying there underneath, like the friends, they have this undertone language in which they talk to each other. So this is what is meant by underlying meanings. So that was a quick introduction to the listening skills. There are some types of listening that need our attention, and that one you need to know once you are in a process of listening to something. And I'm sure that you come across all of these listenings every day. So the first type of listening is discriminative listening. That has something to do with discrimination. Now that language itself is very discriminatory. As we talked about, just to give you a quick example, we've been talking about this sexist language in our previous lectures as well. Now this is one kind of a language that is gender biased. Now this gender biased language doesn't allow you listen to the next person well. So this discriminative language, like the word manpower, the word police officer, policeman, and then these kind of some of the professions which have been attributed to some of the genders, like doctor, nurse. Now there was a question I asked my student in the last semester, and I asked them that a doctor and a nurse get married and they have a baby boy who looks just like them, but the doctor is not boy's father. Please explain. Now all of the students, they kept thinking, and they came up with a lot of foolish ideas you cannot imagine of. No, those ideas were some kind of looking beyond what I had been talking about, or looking out of the that box, but the answer was hidden somewhere within. Now the question was that doctor and nurse, let me write it down for you here, doctor and nurse get married and have a baby boy who looks just like them, but the doctor is not boy's father. Please explain. Now you see, and the students, they had been, you know, kind of confusing doctor as male and nurse as female. So it was really very, you know, kind of, they were really unable to see, and they were really unable to, you know, differentiate that why a doctor is not a boy's father. So the doctor was basically boy's mother. So we have actually attributed some of the words, some of the professions to some particular genders. This is what you call discriminative language. This is what you call stereotyping, that you have attributed some specific words to some particular people, and you know, they are being attributed to them, and we think of them in that very way. Then there is sometimes the second type of listening is comprehension listening, that we also come across every day. We are listening to someone to comprehend something. We are trying to, you know, get the intent or the content of the whole message. So comprehension listening has something to do with listening to the intent and the content. Then the third type of listening is critical listening. Now you are trying to, you know, look at the positive and the negative aspects of the person who is talking. Now you would look for the positive and negative information that is being explained by the speaker. Then there is another kind of listening, that is biased listening. You are biased towards something, and which, you know, which won't allow you to listen to something. Then there is kind of evaluative listening. While listening to someone, you are, you know, trying to evaluate that person. Then there is appreciative listening. You are actually, through your non-verbal behavior, once you are listening to someone, you are appreciating them at the same time. Sometimes you are listening to someone for sympathy, so that one category of listening is known as sympathetic listening. Now there is the importance of good listening skills. If you are listening to someone with good care and with importance, in other words, it means that you are being identified. So it will help you identify yourself once you are trying to, you know, or once you are listening to someone with good care. Then your body language is also involved in your good listening skill. Show respect towards someone. Do not look here and there once they are talking to you, so that you can make them sure that you are listening to them well. Your asking questions would help them, and your non-verbal expression and then your comprehension would explain to them that you are a good listener and you are listening to them. Then a response, of course, your feedback is going to be another thing that is going to help the sender of the message understand that you were, or you had been listening to him with good care. So these are the all things which are important for becoming the good listener. There are some keys to become a good listener. Now use your disc drive. Now this D-I-S-C, disc drive should be used. D stands for desire. Now you should be desirous for listening to someone. I stands for interest. You should be interested in listening to someone. S stands for self-discipline. Now you should show your self-discipline, that you are ready to listen to someone instead of, you know, twitching with your material that is around you, sometimes playing with your pen, sometimes, you know, twitching on your mobile phone, looking here and there and looking not interested. And then C stands for concentration, that pay your proper concentration through your eyes, you know, keep on nodding to them, sometimes, you know, utter some words like yes, I understand, and stuff like that. So this disc drive has to be kept into your ear to make sure that people understand you better. So D stands for desire, I stands for interest, S stands for self-discipline, and C stands for concentration. If you focus on this disc drive, of course you can become one good, better listener. Why you need good listening skills? Now there are reasons that why do you need and why do you have to have these good listening skills. Now you have to have these good listening skills so that you can better understand assignments and what is expected of you. Now coming into the business scenario where you are sitting and where you are supposed to meet and greet people every day, like talking about the business administration that you would do in future, talking about that, you are supposed to make sure that you understand what people are saying to you and what they are exactly expecting from you. Now there is a customer or a client who would come to you. Now you are going to make sure that the instructions or the things that he would be requiring, you are listening to him well. So this is what is your task, that you are going to listen to the instructions well. Like for example, your teacher is going to give you a task, like kind of an assignment. You would hold to your pen and your paper, and you would be ready to write down that what you are expected to do. You would take points, and then later on you would deliver the assignments on time. So this is how, this is one very common example that I have given you. So whenever any customer or any client is come to visit you in your office for any kind of the work that they are expecting you to do, what you are supposed to do is to, handle them well, talk to them nicely, and keep that writing pad of yours and your pen in your hand so that you can respond to them well. Now another thing, build rapport with co-workers, bosses and clients. If your communication with them is good, now once you had been listening to them carefully, and once you had been concentrating and you had been responding to them accurately, you would automatically build a good rapport amongst them. So they would be coming to you again and again, and they would like you for how you behave, and because this will only happen because of your language skills. So your language skill is the one tool that is going to help you develop your rapport in society. Then sometimes through listening you show your support. If someone is talking and you are talking and you start talking at the same time, they would be very disappointed that you are not listening to them well. So show support and listen to them well, so that they understand that you are there to listen to them and you are there to support them in the ideas that they have to share with you or other people. Then work better in a team-based environment. So once you are going to work in team, listen to your team leader well, whatsoever instructions your team leader is providing, and then wait for your turn to talk. There are some advantages of listening. Now listening, as I said, is the 32% of the whole communication frequency that we use every day. Now there are some advantages of listening as well. It protects you from troubles. First of all, the very good thing that it protects you from different kinds of troubles that you can come across in your life sometime. So if you had been listening to something properly, that would help you answer and address those questions that can come to you later somewhere in your life. So this is one technique, and this is one idea that can be taken, or that can be taken care of once you are trying to talk about the good or advantages of listening. Let you know what is going on. Now this word, let you know what's going on. Now once you had been sitting into a situation and you had been listening to things around, you would be in a better position to judge on your own that what exactly is going on. It makes you competent. Now another advantage of listening is that sometimes it also makes you competent, because the more you would listen to, the more productive you become. It makes you look intelligent. Now speak less and look good. It is one rule of life that the less you are going to speak, the people, they are going to admire you. So that once you are a very less communicator, you communicate very less with people and very often with people. So the time once you would communicate with people, they would appreciate your participation, and they would appreciate and encourage your participation. It would increase your power, and it would increase your rapport amongst your colleagues and customers. Then it would help you understand. Of course, you would be in a better position to understand that what others are talking about. It will also help you negotiate with other people. It would diffuse your anger. It would build your self-esteem, and it would make love real. So all of these are some of the advantages of listening properly, and that can make you one good communicator. Now, before we move on further, let me ask you one thing, that if you know the difference between listening and hearing. Before I actually, show you the definition of two of them, listening and hearing, basically, we take both of them same, but actually both of them, they are different. Now let's see their definitions one by one. Listening is the act of interpreting and evaluating what is being said, and hearing is the physiological process by which sound waves are received by the ear. Now, listening and hearing, both of them involve sounds, but both of them, they are different to one another in a way that we listen to the voices around us. Now, we are actually hearing it. Now, two friends are talking, and they are talking to each other, and there are a lot of other people who are around them, and they are also talking. Now, what exactly is happening? Two of them, they are talking and they are involved in the conversation, means they are trying to, the friend number one is talking to friend number two, and friend number two is responding back to friend number one, unaware of the voices which are around them. Now, the voices which are around them, they are also coming into their ear, no matter how hard they would try to, avoid them. So, those voices which are coming into their ear but they are not paying attention to them is known as hearing. However, two of them, they are talking and they are sharing their thoughts and ideas with each other, so they are actually involved in the listening process. So this is what you explain listening as, and this is what you call the difference between listening and hearing. Now that we are talking to each other, in the current scenario, there would be a fan in your room as well. There would be noises around you as well that you could feel and that you could know of, that this is the noise of this computer monitor, or this is the voice of this CPU, but the actual concentration that you are paying on is the voice that you are hearing into your ear, and that is my voice, because you are trying to interpret each and every idea that I am sharing with you. So this is what you call listening. Listening is the act of interpreting and evaluating what is being said. So whatsoever is being interpreted and then evaluated is known as listening. However, the physiological process by which sound waves are received by the ear is known as hearing. So this is how you differentiate between listening and hearing in a good way. Now, sometimes there are some non-verbal distractions that you should know of. Now, this non-verbal sign, this one, it indicates something that is to be understood and that is to be known by everyone. This symbol is having different meanings in different countries. Like in UK and USA, it is okay. In Japan, it's money. So whenever you are going to Japan, don't do like this. Otherwise, they would say that you are seeking for money. In Russia, it's 0. Then in Brazil, it's an insult. And then in India, it's good. Since as Pakistanis, we follow the standards of UK and USA, so it means okay. So that was the non-verbal distraction that can occur because of barriers between the sender and receiver. So while you are trying to listen to something accurately and firmly, there are some physical barriers that can come across. There are two major physical constraints of effective listening, which are, first of all, the noisy environment. Now, noisy environment can be of the physical constraint or physical barrier, because if you are moving in a very crowdy place and where there are a lot of people around and who are listening to you, who are actually talking to each other and making a lot of noise, and you are talking to someone, some of your friend, and you would be in a way actually unable to listen to him carefully, that what he is talking about, because of the noises and distortion around in the environment. The second type of the physical barrier and the physical constraint can be the learning impairment. Now this learning impairment has something to do with that you are unable to listen to, and you are actually you have this problem medically, you are unfit to listen to. So these kind of hearing problems can be here, so you are actually medically not fit to listen to something. So these are the two physical barriers that we have talked about. Now moving on to the psychological barrier, it basically consists of your thoughts and feelings. Now first of all, it talks about the attitudinal problem. Now you don't listen to someone with this attitude in you. Now this attitude is something that won't allow you to listen to them. Now this can happen, or this can occur because of these assumptions or prejudices, or sometimes these pride in you. So you come to the university every day, but you are not listening to the teacher properly. Why is that so? Because you are you don't have this attitude or aptitude of studying. So if you cannot develop this attitude of listening to something, you would not be in a position to listen to the next person properly. So this is the first psychological thing, or the psychological barrier that we can come across every day. Then a preoccupation. Now you have something on your mind already. You were coming to the university and you came running to the university, yet you were late, and you reach your class late, and you are sitting at the back, and but you cannot concentrate on, and you cannot listen to what's going on, because you are waiting for the class to end and then should share with your friends what has happened with you in this morning. So this is one preoccupation, that you are already preoccupied with something, that you cannot listen to what next person is saying to you. Now the third thing is egocentrism. Now this ego is really very important, and this ego really becomes one problem once we talk about the psychological barriers in listening. Your ego is so big that doesn't allow you to listen to someone and to share your ideas with someone, or sometimes to take their instructions, and to sometimes they take their suggestions. So this is what you call egocentrism, that your ego is bigger than your problems. Then fear of appearing ignorant. So sometimes you don't listen to the people around you because you have this fear of appearing ignorant in front of them. Then sometimes you have these faulty assumptions about the people. You feel that these people are rude, these people are proud, these people are not good enough to talk to, and you don't listen to them. So this is what is your faulty assumption. You have assumed something about someone, and you don't want to talk to them. If they are talking to you, you don't want to listen to them. So this is what another psychological barrier that can be one reason of the bad listeners. Now moving on to the language barriers, they are also one very important kind of barriers which can occur in the listening process. Now for effective listening, language is very important, and if someone is unable to listen to your language well, it means that you had been using heavy English. Now in the last lecture we have thoroughly talked about the plain English and heavy English. Now there is one thing that starts from this point, it ends on this point, and there is one thing that starts from here and it keeps on moving like this, and it ends here. Now what is the difference? This thing went very plain and it reached its destination without any hurdles. Now this thing started from here, but it can strike the upper and lower things, and upper and lower judgments which are coming from people. So instead of making your language heavy and distractive like the second example, it's better to use plain English to convey your ideas. And how we can use plain English? By using common words and easy to understandable words which can be helpful to make your point of view clear for everyone. So the best idea is to, once you want to avoid the language barrier, the best idea is to use simple words and avoid unfamiliar words as much as you can. So how to improve your listening? First of all, resist all the distractions. Distractions which are around you. They can be voices, they can be noises, they can be people around you who are trying to distract. Sometimes they can be hot and cold and very stuffy environment in which you are sitting. Try to forget about where you are sitting and try to concentrate on your listening. Second thing that you are supposed to do is to avoid fake listening. Now there are people and there are students who come to the university every day, but they are actually sitting in the classroom but they are not listening. They are actually pretending that they are listening, but actually they are not listening, and they are just nodding their head and they are lost in their own thoughts. That is kind of a daydreaming kind of a thing that they are doing. So the thing is that you are supposed to avoid this fake listening, because sometimes fake listening can become one problem for you if you want to develop your social skills. Be willing to use energy. Now you have this energy of listening to someone and you avoid them, and you try to avoid them because you don't want to use your energies to listen to them. So sometimes you avoid people because we don't want to listen, because we are not willing to use our energy to listen to them. So this is one very bad idea that that needs a lot of care once you want to develop your listening skills. Prepare yourself. Once, just to give you one example, that you come to the university, prepare yourself for listening. Hold your pen and your copy in your hand and prepare yourself, mentally prepare yourself for listening, that I have come here to listen to the lecture of the teacher. So this is how you can improve your listening in your university. Taking notes is another very good idea for improving and for enhancing your listening skill. Whatever you had been listening to, like the way you would be inshallah going into your practical lives, and you would see that how once your boss is going to call you in for the meeting, how would you take your writing pad and your pen with you, and you would start noting down the instructions that, yes sir, this is what I am supposed to do. Your boss would ask you in the end, once he is done with his instructions, that repeat that what I have done. Like you go to the restaurant every day, maybe occasionally, maybe over the weekends, maybe once in a month. What do the waiter do? He comes to you, he asks for the order. He don't ask for the order just like that. He has got this writing pad and this pen is in hand, and he asks for the order. Yes sir, what would you like to have? Okay, one pizza, one Coke, and one grilled burger and stuff like that. Anyone that you are fond of. I am really fond of eating junk. I don't know what you are fond of. So whenever you go into university, whenever you go to any restaurant, that waiter would ask you for that thing. Whenever you would go to see your boss would give you instructions and you would write them down. So this is what taking notes would help you remember that thing for longer period of time. Asking questions. Now asking questions can be another technique of improving your listening. If you haven't, or if you are unable to listen to something, you would ask the next person clearly, excuse me, please forgive me, I couldn't hear to you properly, and other stuff like that. That is going to help you make sure that people are actually talking to you. Now for asking questions, make sure that you are going to ask the sincere questions, not those questions which are going to irritate the next person or sometimes waste your as well as their time. There are students in the classroom who are really fond of asking irrelevant questions and then diverting the attention of the whole class towards something else. That's a very bad idea. You don't have to waste time of the teacher and the students who are sitting in the classroom and who are coming for the purpose. So try to make sure that you are sincere to yourself as well as to the people who are sitting around you. Then another technique is paraphrasing. That is also going to help you listen to the people well. Now sometimes you paraphrase the content. Now, somebody is telling you his story or somebody is sharing his thoughts with you. What do? Sometimes you paraphrase. I hope you understand the word paraphrasing. You re-narrate their whole conversation into your own words. So this is what you call paraphrasing. Now, once you are paraphrasing the content, it means that you are re-narrating their story into your own words in a very short form. Then once you talk about the paraphrasing intent, it means that you are re-narrating their story's main moral or main gist of the story in one sentence, or their intention. Like they are sharing with you that I didn't get good score, and although I performed well, but I didn't score good. So you would paraphrase their intention, so you are not happy with it. So this is how you are going to, paraphrase their intention, that what exactly they want to, or what exactly they intend to say, and what exactly they intend to share with you. Then paraphrasing the feelings, sometimes your friends, they are sharing their stories with you, and you paraphrase their feelings that I know you are really very sad, and I know you are really very happy and excited over your wedding and stuff like that. So this is how you can improve your listening, by asking questions, by paraphrasing, by taking notes, by sometimes avoiding the fake listening, and then avoiding these distractions and other stuff. Now there are some types of workplace listening. Sometimes once you will be going into your practical life, you would develop this habit of listening to different people who are sitting at your workplace. You would listen to your supervisor, the supervisor who is going to give you the instruction, that is hearing instructions, assignments and explanations of the work procedures. Then sometimes you would listen to the employees, like supervisors spend more time listening to the employees than reading, writing or speaking. So listening would help you develop the function of your organization, or to it would help you better improve the function of your organization. Then another type of listening is listening to customers. It improves sales and your profit business, as well as it would increase and repeat business. So this is how these types of workplace listening you would come across in everyday practical life. I hope that you have understood that how you are actually going to improve your listening skill by using all those techniques that we have shared so far. Now there are some bad habits of poor listeners. They actually interrupt in between. Now this interruption is something that disturbs the speaker a lot, because speaker is actually communicating with the sender, and if you are a bad listener, if you are a poor listener, you would keep on interrupting them by talking about irrelevant things around, or sometimes by talking irrelevant stuff, or by stopping them somehow. So this interruption would become one bad habit of the poor listener. Someone is narrating you the story and you jump to the conclusion quickly that alright, so this is what happened after that. Like for example, just to give you one example, somebody asks you that where is Jinnah Super, and you tell them the path that you would climb on the 9th Avenue, then take right, then take left, then again take right, and you interrupt them, and you quickly jump onto the conclusion, okay, and then take left. So this is how you have jumped on the conclusion on your own, and this doesn't allow you, or this did not allow you to jump to the conclusion. Another example, that somebody has recently started their presentation, and you jump to the conclusion that he is not going to give the good presentation because he did not start it well. So sometimes this is going to be a very bad idea of jumping to the conclusions and then not letting others share their thoughts with you. Finishing other sentences for them. The example that I have just now shared with you, this is what you call finishing other sentences for them. That is going to be another very bad habit of the poor listener that you are supposed to avoid thoroughly. Then frequently and often abruptly changing the subject. Now your friend is, you are studying together and you have this get-together study session. Your friend is teaching you continuously and you frequently and abruptly say, I am hungry, I want to go out, let's go out. So this is going to distract the whole scenario, and this is going to confuse the sender in sending the message to you. Inattentive body language is another habit of the poor listener, like somebody is talking really very serious thing to you, or maybe if not serious, somebody is talking to you and you have this inattentive body language. You are continuously playing with your cell phone, you are looking here and there. They would automatically get this feeling that you are not interested in listening to them. Not responding to what others have said. Sometimes if you are not responding, or if you are not giving your feedback in terms of paraphrasing or in terms of questioning, or sometimes through your non-verbal communication, this is going to be one very bad idea, and this is going to not help them understand that what you are you are not listening to them well. Failing to ask questions and give feedback. Sometimes there are students in the classroom who are sitting there, but once they are being asked questions or once they are being asked for the participation, they are dull and they are blank. So this is what is another bad habit of the poor listener, because those students have been pretending to listen. That was one kind of the fake listening, like they had been just pretending that they had been listening to them well. Now what you are supposed to do is, with me, that you are going to see that how you can overcome these listening barriers that we have just talked about. Now you would think of all the categories that we have discussed, and you would see that how you can overcome these listening barriers. How you can overcome the language barriers, of course, by using the good quality language, by using the plain English, or by using the plain language that is understandable by the next person. You can overcome your psychological barrier by removing this ego problem, then removing this problem, attitudinal problem, and then fake listening and all these things. So you are going to develop your answer accordingly, and I will ask you in the next lecture that how far you have been able to write down that how you can overcome these listening barriers. Now the process of listening basically goes through 6 major steps that you are supposed to see and you are supposed to observe. The first step is hearing. Hearing has something, or it refers to response that is caused by the sound waves. You hear something, and the sound waves, they are striking your ear. This is what you call hearing. That was your first step number 1. Now your step number 2 is that you pay attention to it. In other words, it means that your brain screens its stimuli and it selects the message that you want to interpret. Then your step number 3 would be that you try to interpret that message, and you try to, once you have selected that message, you try to understand that. Now understanding what you see and hear is another thing that you are supposed to do after you had been or you have paid attention to it. Then you try to remember it. Remembering has something to do with adding to the mind storage bank. Now there is one kind of the memory that is short-term memory, and there is another kind of the memory that is long-term memory. Now you would look into your memory boxes and you would identify that which one you are going to listen to first. Then you would evaluate that. Active listeners, they participate. Once you are evaluating, this is your step number 5. Once you are evaluating, you would see that how you can participate in the this conversation, and then you would respond. In other words, that can be verbal and non-verbal feedback. So that was your process of listening. So if you are being asked that how you would define the process of listening, make sure that you start it with the hearing. Hearing needs, once the hearing is being paid attention, it automatically becomes listening. You try to understand that, you try to remember that, you evaluate that, and then you give your response. So this is what you call the whole listening process. Now there are 4 sides of the messages between the sender and the receiver. Now this is your sender and this is your receiver, and between them, and they signal, first of all, appeal, they signal factual information, they signal self-revelation, and they signal relationship. Now let's try to explain them one by one. Factual information basically explains the facts. Self-revelation basically expresses the sender himself and his feelings. Relationship expresses what the sender expects from a receiver and what kind of relationship or contact exists between the two parties. Appeal, it seeks to have an influence on the other. Now let's see each one of them along with the example. Now this is the sender, who is the mother, and this is the receiver, who is the son. Now let's see what kind of the conversation they have while they are trying to talk to each other. Now let's first of all talk about self-revelation. Now self-revelation is something that you are actually talking to yourself. So once you are talking to yourself, you say, I am lonely. Now if you are lonely, your relationship, you are saying I am lonely, the mother is telling the son that I am lonely. Relationship is that you don't visit me more often, so it is emphasizing that the son doesn't visit the mother more often. Appeal is that visit me more often. Now mother is telling the son to visit me more often, and the factual information is, or the fact is, that your presence is nice. Now there is explanation for each one of them. Factual information was that your presence is nice. It means that the fact is that the son is there is good. Self-revelation, I am lonely, the mother missed her son and she wanted to see him often. A relationship between two of them was that you don't visit me often. In other words, it means that the critical undertone implies the closeness and trust of relationship between mother and her son. And appeal is visit me more often, which in other words means that mother uses the message to express her wish. So these are the 4 years of listener that every listener and every speaker, sender and receiver have. The correct decoding of the message by the receiver means that he has to have a particular ear of each of the messages. So this is what you call a relationship between the sender and the receiver, and how each ear of listener, 1, 2, 3, 4, self-revelation, appeal, then relationship, and then factual information, listen to the sender carefully. Now there is an explanation of the active listener. Factual information, basically once you talk about your business scenario, it basically talks about that what is factual content of the report. Then self-revelation basically talks about that what is this telling me about the other person. Relationship basically says that what does the other person want me to know about myself and other about the relationship. The fourth thing is what does he want to achieve. So this is how you define these 4 years of listeners into the practical life. This is the degree of active listening, starting from repeating, perceiving, paying attention, remembering, and then perceiving, that is paraphrasing, and then reflecting. So this is how you actually develop this sequence of, or this process of active listening, starting from repeating to paraphrasing to reflecting. So that was all about the listening responses, and that was all about the listening skills. Alright, now let's move to the activity. Now pick up your pens and pick up your copies and get ready for the activity. This is going to be listening to instructions. You would be listening to each instruction that I would give you, and you are supposed to, write down each and every instruction on the piece of paper. I would give you the instructions clearly so that you can do it on your own, and we would see that how you were able to listen to these instructions and then follow these instructions, and then copy them on the piece of paper. So pick up your pens and pick up your copies quickly, grab them, and I'm ready to give you instruction number 1. I hope you are ready too. I'll count down 1, 2, 3, and then I'll begin. 1, 2, 3. All right. Write down your name at the upper right corner of your paper. I'll repeat. Write your name at the upper right corner of your paper. Done? Good. Now, for the rest of these directions, start near the left top of your paper. Then print the result of each new direction below the previous result. I repeat, for the rest of these directions, start near the left top of your paper. Then print the result of each new direction below the previous result. Write down I am smart, and that you would do on the left upper corner of your paper. Without any gap, write down I am smart. Now every new instruction that I would give you would be followed by this first statement. So give them numbers and you would make new changes in the every new step that you would make. Insert two O's after the third, the sixth and eighth letter in the I am smart statement. I repeat, insert two O's, O for owl. Insert two O's after the third, the sixth and the eighth letter in I am smart statement. Done? Good. Now move the first letter so that it is between the third and the fourth letters from the end. I repeat, move the first letter so that it is between the third and fourth letters from the end. I repeat again, move the first letter so that it is between the third and fourth letters from the end. I hope you are done. Let's move to our next step. Insert N before the third letter from the end and after the first letter from the beginning. Insert N for nest. Insert N before the third letter from the end. Count the third letter from the end. Insert N before the third letter from the end and after the first letter from the beginning. Let's move to the next step. Insert D before and after the first double O. Insert D before and after the first double O. I hope you are listening to me well. Done? Great. Insert C, C for cat. Insert C after the third letter and at the end. Insert C after the third letter and at the end. Insert G before the first double O and after the third letter following the second double O. Insert G, G for goat, before the first double O and after the third letter following the second double O. I repeat again. Insert G before the first double O and after the third letter following the second double O. Insert L, L for loin. Insert second double O. Let's move to the next step. Remove the fourth letter. Remove the fourth letter. Totally remove the fourth letter. Change the ninth letter to K and move it so that it falls between the eighth and ninth letters from the end. Change the ninth letter to K and then move it so that it falls between the eighth and ninth letters from the end. Change the ninth letter to K and move it so that it falls between the eighth and ninth letters from the end. Some letters appear more than once. Get rid of the third letter which does not appear more than once. Some letters appear more than once. Get rid of the third letter which does not appear more than once. Some letters appear more than once. Get rid of the third letter which does not appear more than once. Now the next step, remove the last letter. Remove the last letter. Remove the last letter. Get rid of all the letters which are like the first letter. Get rid of all the letters which are like the first letter, but leave the first letter. Get rid of all the letters which are like the first letter, but leave the first letter. Get rid of the third letter and all the letters like it. Get rid of the third letter and all the letters like it. Get rid of the third letter and all the letters which are like it. Write the first and last statements together. Write the first, I am smart, and the statement that you have written together. Write the first and last statements together. Done? So what is the answer? I hope the answer is I am smart and good looking too. Now let's see all the instructions one by one if you have followed them well. Print I am smart. I'm sure you must have printed it this way. I am smart. Insert two O's after the third and sixth and the eighth letters in the I am smart statement. So you see, these are the O's which we have inserted. Move the first letter so that it is between the third and fourth letters from the end. So you have moved the first letter. Insert N before the third letter from the end and after the first letter. So here you go with N and then again N. Insert D before and after the first double O. So before and after the first double O. D. Insert C after the third letter and at the end. So you can see the instruction on the slide. Insert G before the first double O and after the third letter following the second double O. So here you go. I hope you have done the same. Insert L before the second double O. Insert L before the second double O. So you were supposed to insert L before the second double O. Remove the fourth letter. So you have removed the fourth letter. Change the ninth letter to K and move it so that it falls between the eighth and ninth letters from the end. Some letters appear more than once. Get rid of the third letter which does not appear more than once. So you have gotten rid of the third letter which does not appear more than once. Remove the last letter. So you have removed the last letter. Get rid of all the letters which are like the first letter, but leave the first letter. Get rid of the third letter and all the letters like it. Write the first and last statements together. I am smart and good looking too. So I hope that you are smart and good looking too, and you must have listened to all these instructions carefully. So that brings us to the end of today's lecture. In the next class, we would also come across some of other activities that are going to help you understand that how you can, I will make sure that you develop your listening skills. The key to success is to become a more effective listener. Practice the active listening technique and make it one of your active communication skills. In today's lecture, we have thoroughly discussed this difference between listening and hearing, and then we have talked about some these listening barriers and how you can overcome them, and then we have also shared and we have also done one good activity that has helped you listen to the instructions well. In our next classes, we would keep on practicing the listening skills. So once you are coming to attend the class, make sure that you have your pens and your copies in your hand. I'll see you in the next class. Till then, take very good care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.